Hello friends, welcome back to our channel DS Tech Mirror. Topic for today video is Copilot and Power Automate. You must be aware about the recent buzz in the market about generative AI and Copilot. Microsoft is gradually releasing its Copilot in almost all of its product like M365 Copilot, Word, PowerPoint, SharePoint, Power Apps. Quite recently, Microsoft has released Copilot in Power Automate as well. So in today's video, I will try to cover how you can leverage Copilot in Power Automate, what are its powers, how useful it can be to the developers, and what are the different aspects of Copilot. So let's quickly get started. In this slide, I have highlighted what are the systems capabilities. That means what are the Copilot capabilities. First is the new designer. That is not the capability, but kind of an information for you. This Copilot is available with a new designer. Having said that means when you will create a Power Automate using this Copilot, it will open your flow entirely in a new designer that we will see during the demo of this particular video. Another thing is Copilot is only available with the new designer. It is not available with the classic designer, which you have been using it for now. Next is the create a new flow from scratch. So what we can do, the first and the foremost and most useful capability of this Copilot is we can create any new flow from scratch. So what we can do, we can describe a requirement to the Copilot in natural language or our everyday language, and what it will do, it will create a flow or a draft format for us. What we can do, we can review it. If we are not satisfied with the flow, what we have to do, we have to modify our prompt, and then accordingly it will make changes. And once we feel okay, the kind of structure it has created is good for me, then you can go ahead and create that flow. Once you will create the flow or click on create button called create flow, it will create the flow and it will open it in a new designer. In the new designer, you will be having an icon at the top called Copilot, and using that you can edit your flow. So once the flow is created, if you further want to modify anything, that you can do with the help of Copilot. So this is one aspect of Copilot and Power Automate, that is create your flow and edit your flow. Another is you can also edit an existing flow. So if there is any flow, so you can edit it, and using Copilot you can edit it. But still, right now there are certain limitations to it, which I will cover in my next slide. But these limitations are, over a period of time are going to evaporate, and then we will be having a full-fledged Copilot. But yes, so you need to keep in mind that you can edit your flow, create a new flow. Another is answer questions about current flow being edited. Now, this is really good for the citizen developers or all the end users. For example, you have just came across a flow which you have not created. You do not have any document which mentions about the use case or why this flow is created. So what you can do, you can ask the Copilot, and Copilot will explain it for you. In fact, what you can do, you can even ask the Copilot about particular actions also. What it can do, it can explain the complete flow from beginning to end. Also, it can, explain you individual actions. So that again is very powerful for the, as I said, for the citizen developer as well as for the end users or new developers who are just started exploring the Power Automate. Then answer general documentation question about Power Automate. Again, this is quite useful. Why I'm saying that, because for the citizen developer and user who have just started working with Power Automate, they might not be aware about all the capabilities of Power Automate or how to use this Power Automate. So what they can do using this Copilot, they can learn Power Automate on the fly and can implement their learning. To explain you with an example, sometimes it becomes quite technical to write complex expressions in Power Automate. So what you can do, you can take Power Automate help. It will help you to write expressions, or it will create an expressions for you, and then you can use those expressions in your Power Automate. So now if you have to summarize it, what are the capabilities? One is the create a flow, then edit existing flow, then you can get the questions about your current flow, and the last one is the general documentation question about Power Automate. So these are the four capabilities which we will see in our today's demo. And then we have the limitations. So limitations I will come after the demo. First, let's go to the Power Automate and see how this Copilot is working. So guys, I am in my tenant. This Power Automate is open. I'm inside my environment called Copilot demo. Now, I just wanted to highlight one more thing before I start with the demo, that this Copilot, like every other Copilot, is available in private preview. This is not available in preview for all the tenants. If you want it in your specific tenant, make sure that your environment must be part of the US region. For other region, it is not available even in private preview. And how you can get it, that I have explained in my earlier video where I have explored the Copilot and Power Apps. So you can find the link in the description box below. Just go to that video if you want to enable Copilot in your particular environment. So now I'll start with this Copilot and Power Automate. Over here on the home page, you can see this text box. This is the Copilot. So what we can do, I can explain my requirement over here in everyday language or plain English, whatever you call it, natural language. And then I'll press enter. It will create a flow. This is one way. Another is you can also click on this create button, and like every other flow type, automated flow, cloud flow, scheduled flow. Now you have another type called describe it to design it preview. So if you will click on it, again, it will take you to the same box where you can explain your flow. So these are the two ways you can create your Power Automate. Now I'll go back to the home page. And now what I want is I have a list in SharePoint called as license software. So user will request for the license software in that particular list. Then it has to go for the approval of the manager. And once it is approved or rejected, user should notify. We should notify the user regarding the response. So this is the very plain simple requirement. Let's now I will try to explain this to Copilot using this prompt. So what I'll say, when an item is added to SharePoint list, send it to users manager approval. Now, right now, I'll just mention this. So what we are saying is whenever an item is added to SharePoint list, send it to users manager approval. Now, with this prompt, what I try to make sure is I should give the more and more information to the Copilot, because it is mentioned in Microsoft documents that your prompt should be quite apt to, so that Copilot can easily understand. So one tip is make sure that you give information about the actions which you think will be useful. So what I did over here, I added information about the trigger when an item is added, and then I said I want to start the approval process. So over here I have given this keyword called approval. Now let's press enter. Now this is analyzing this prompt, and based on that it has created this flow for us. Over here you can see this is the trigger, item is created. We want to start the approval process, we can see this approval and with whom. Over here I mentioned users manager. So automatically it fetched the information about this get manager action, and based on that it said like it will send an email if it is true or false. So so over here now, as I told you, this will create a flow. This is the draft stage over here. If you're satisfied with this, then we can click on next. So according to me, it looks good to me to proceed next. Over here, we can see the overview of the permissions required by this flow. We are interacting with SharePoint, approval, Outlook, and Office 365 user action. Good to me. Click on next. Here I have to provide certain parameters. So I'd say this information, it has to get it from one of the site which I have POC, and list I have licensed software. It is a very simple list with just one column, default column called title column. So I'd say licensed software. That's it. I'm done. Next is this get manager. How I can get the manager, that we will see, and approval type, I'll say first one to respond. Now I'll click on create flow. Now you are welcome to this new designer which got introduced with this Copilot. Now you can see it is entirely different from what we used to work. First thing is you can easily move your flow anywhere, anyhow, which is quite useful when your flow grows in size with more complex requirement with multiple actions. This is quite useful. You can easily move your flow, and gradually we will see the other powers of this new designer as well. Next is over here you can see this Copilot. So now this Copilot will be with you to edit this flow, or if you want to edit any existing flow. So now we'll see this Copilot as well. Now let's try to first provide all the remaining parameters. So I'll say you could see this, it has not filled up this parameter. So although I will go to the limitations at the last, but just to highlight it right now, this is one of the limitation that this Copilot is not very good with the parameterization of the flow. So the parameters, it's not very good. It's mentioned in my slide. I'll come back to that. But before what I'll do, I'll just add it over here. Now you will click on it. So if you want to write an expression, click on FX, or you want to get the data from the existing actions, click on this from the previous tab. And I'll say I want the manager of the user who created the item. So I'll say created by email. This is done. Next is start and wait for an approval. I'll say okay, fine. Title we can say request for, and then the software name I can get it again from this list. I'll say title, and here is the title for the list. And in fact, I can show you license software. This is just the plain list. So I'll Visual Studio subscription. So we are just appending this information over here. To whom we have to assign? We have to assign it to the manager. Again, the manager we will get from this previous section, that is the get manager action, and I'll say mail, and details and other things I'll leave as it is for now, because to create a full-fledged flow is not the agenda of this video. Now, let's come over here. Now, what I want is I want to write an email. Over here, these are email actions. So I want to write an email when an item is approved. So what I'll say to my flow in the email action, update the email body with a light hearted tone, informing them that their request is approved. So guys, let's see whether this will be able to process this prompt, because this is in, again, as I said, this is in private preview. So I have seen cases where intermittently this copilots get failed, but we are hopeful that once it is released for the commercial use, all these issues which we are facing right now will be resolved by that. So now it is saying that it has updated the action. So let's go ahead and see. And you can see over here, it directly it has updated the email body, but if you see, it has removed that condition, and now there is only one single email. This is not what I want. So I have to go ahead and explain in detail to my copilot. That again, that will the help of this prompt. So let's see how we will do that. For now, what I'll say, I'll click on this undo button, and I'll say this is not what I required, and this will revert my flow. So I'm back to the original sequence. So now over here, I'll try to type a different prompt, let's say. So now what I'll do, I'll try with a different prompt, and I'll say this. Email body should change based on approval action. If the request is approved, email body should say it is approved. If the request is not approved, email body should say not approved. Now let's see. Okay, so now you saw that again it has updated something. Now let's go ahead and see this email body, and you can see over here, you can see based on the different prompts it was able to understand and updated this flow. So now I'll quickly update these parameters. Subject, I'll say new request or your request. That's it, because again, as I said, target is not to make this flow fully fledged. Your request, that's it. I just wanted to get rid of these basic errors. Now I wanted to save this flow. So till now we have seen how we can create flow from scratch and how we can use this Copilot to create my flow. Now we will go through some of the other capabilities, that is answer questions and general documentations. Now I'll say, let's go to a very basic question. Let's say, what does this flow do? Now, what this Copilot will do, it will analyze the entire flow and it will give you a summary of the function of this flow. Over here, you can see this flow triggers when a new item is added to SharePoint list. It then get the manager of the person who created the item and start an approval process. If the process is approved, it sends an email to the manager. If the approval is not approved, it sends a different email to the manager. Over here, there's a slight fault in the summary. It is not sending an email to the manager but to the requester. But still, it was able to give you a crisp about your flow. As I said, it is in private preview. All these problems will definitely gets wiped off. So this is how you can get the summary. If you wanted to ask a question about particular action, you can say, what does the action get manager do? And this will give you an answer. It says retrieves the manager of the user who created SharePoint item triggering the flow. So this is quite useful in case of complex flow, and these are the capabilities: ask a question, explain action, replace action with. You can use this flow to delete any action, to add any action. That also you can do with this flow. Now let's come to the other part, that is the general documentation. Now let's say I wanted to know about Power Automate expression. I'll say, what is Power Automate expressions? So what it will do, this will give you the answer about Power Automate. And in fact, I have tried it. You can also try if you want. You can, in your flow, if there's any need of an expression, just explain it on the prompt and it should be able to help you with the prompt. Maybe not 100%, but definitely you will get a fair bit of idea about the expression, just like we have got for this explanation of the of this flow, where there was a small mistake that we were not sending the email to the manager but to the requester. Other than that, it was quite helpful. So you can try with this Power Automate expressions also. It can write an expression for you. Or let me give another example. What are desktop flows? So there are different types of flow. You might be knowing that. So let's see whether this will be able to answer, and you could see. So it has got the summary for the desktop flow as well. So if there is any doubt for any of the action, for any technical technicalities in the power, in the logic in the Power Automate, or if you want to learn altogether a different topic in Power Automate, this Copilot can help you out and you can learn on the fly and implement for your flow. So this would be quite helpful. I'm quite sure this would be helpful for the power users, citizen developers, along with the developers. Now, moving ahead, I think with this designer we are done. This is the Copilot. You can see if you want to update the parameters I show you, you have to update it over here and you have to go back. Just click on this arrow. If you wanted to update it dynamically, just select the dynamic thing. Otherwise, select the where you want to write an expressions. Okay, now I'll go back to my slide now. Let's come back and just talk a few minutes about the limitations. Now, limitations are a flow with an AI builder or SAP connector, desktop flow, or a child flow component. So if your flow has any child flow component, this Copilot will not support. It is not supporting for desktop flow with an AI builder or SAP connector. So these are the things right now which is not supported. Next is, if your flow has a comment, it will not support. If you are triggering a flow from the Power Apps, not supported, or if you are even having a response, you are responding back, then also it will not support. Power Pages component, it will not support. So right now, these are the few major limitations which I have highlighted it for you, because very frequently we work with this Power Pages or Power Apps to Power Automate. This is a very frequent one. So in private preview, this is not supported. Let's see how this will evolve once it will released in the public preview or for the commercial use. Copilot has limited parameterization support. It is not, able to fill in the parameters for us very successfully. And then it has limited support to create looping constructs. The same thing. This we have not seen in today's video, but you can try it at your end. And the last one is a solution flow using connections instead of connection reference. So if you have a Power Automate flow in a solution and you are not using connection references, so this will Copilot will not support. So these are the some high level limitations of the flow which you must be aware before you plan your stuff around Copilot, and I would say the limitations related to the Power Apps are quite the I would say very high level one. So guys, that's it about today's video. I would say just play around this Copilot and let me know how you are feeling. What is your say on this Copilot? How much it is able to help you out? Let's see. And do let me know how do you feel about this Copilot. So guys, thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please like and share the video and subscribe to the channel to get notification about our coming videos. Till then, much love. Keep learning. Thank you.